Okay. Now see, this is the fun stuff. This is the exciting stuff. I know that this day probably seems like it was inevitable, but still, today's the day, and that makes it fun. I had a really, really long speech, but now, I don't have time for that, but no. You don't want to hear about the history of the WPBA or the history of the Hall of Fame or all that. We just want to hear about Jeanette, because today is all about Jeanette. So she gets to do whatever she wants.
No flash photography. Flash this. Just kidding.
And to tell you all about our very own Jeanette Lee, her good friend, Dr. Donald Wardell.
Can you hear in the back all right? Yes. Doesn't sound very loud from here. I think we'll just start by playing a video sent to us by her marketing agency, Octagon. Let's see, sports marketing.
The Black Widow, Miss Jeanette Lee!
A pool shark who wears an icy glare and distinctive black clothing while devouring her opponents. She's Jeanette Lee, the Black Widow of billiards.
Please welcome the Black Widow, Jeanette Lee.
One woman in particular is captivating audiences, not just because of the way she confronts the game of pool, but because of the way she confronts life.
Miss Jeanette Lee!
They call her the Black Widow because she doesn't just play to show, she plays to win.
Jeanette Lee.
I'm very competitive. When I'm playing on the table as the Black Widow, I am thinking, step back. Here I am. This is my time. This is my arena.
My name is Don Wardell. I'm a family friend of Jeanette's and was one of her physicians for many years. And of all the people gathered in this meeting room, probably very few knew this and probably even fewer really cared. And the only reason that I give this information is to, not really to introduce myself, but to point out how radically different the situation is for the person we are going to honor tonight. If you polled the people in any random meeting room such as this, or any random person on any random street in any random city in the United States, 60 to 70% would know the name Jeanette Lee, recognize it, and associate it with the sport of pocket billiards. In Korea, China, Taiwan, or the Philippines, the percentage is even higher. This is truly remarkable for a sport that really has very limited popularity, at least in this country. If you mention the name of Efren Reyes or Mike Siegel, great players of the past, fewer than 1% of people will recognize the name at all. By anyone's definition of fame, Jeanette Lee has it, and in spades for sure. She is arguably the most famous pool player of all time. There are a lot of reasons for this fame that we are probably all aware of. She's won numerous tournaments, she's held the number one ranking, she's achieved tremendous financial success, and become extremely popular with the public. These things are very well known to the audience in this room, but they're not going to be the topic of this introduction. I've really wanted for years to share her real story, the one that reveals the most impressive thing about her achievements, and the one that is unknown to the general public and to most of her competitors. She's overcome a condition so severe that most medical professionals cannot believe that she has succeeded with such a condition. She's quite famous without anyone even knowing this, but it's the real reason that I find her to be the most admirable athlete that I've ever read about, I've ever met, or ever known. Jeanette was born with scoliosis, which is an inherited condition which causes curvature of the spine over time. I knew this for several years before becoming her physician, and I'd always assumed that she must have had a mild case. After all, moderate or severe scoliosis usually results in death or severe disability, and even with surgery, leave the patients with limitations that usually prevent any type of sporting participation, much less championship level of play. When I assumed her care and finally saw the x-rays and obtained her medical history, I was completely shocked. And I basically am very rarely shocked by anything in my profession. What she has done is truly the most amazing sports achievement I've ever heard of or encountered, and it changed forever the way that I viewed her. I'm going to present a simplified summary of the medical issues just briefly because I want everyone here, her friends, her peers, her family, her rivals, to know as I do just how remarkable this woman is. Jeanette does not speak much of these things. She perseveres without complaint because she loves the game. She does not make excuses, and she must fear that her sponsors would flee if they knew the extent of her disabilities. But it is exactly those disabilities that make her truly great. This story deserves to be told, and you'll be the first ones to hear about it. Let's see. And I'm just going to give you a general thing of a normal spine in, I think this is off. Let's see. They said it would work. Oh, there we go. A normal spine consists of 7 cervical vertebral bodies, 12 thoracic vertebral bodies, and 5 lumbar vertebral bodies. And they're basically bones that sit one atop each other like a stack of cans, and in a canal behind them runs your spinal cord. Now, when you view it from the front, from the chin to the tailbone, the bone should be basically perfectly straight. If you view it from the side, there's a normal S-shaped curve that allows us to bend forward quite a bit, arching our spine, and bend backwards quite a bit. But when you look at it from the front, it's supposed to be basically straight up or down, give or take a few degrees of curvature. With scoliosis, the spine will start to curve laterally like this. And if it gets severe, it'll curve even further laterally. And if you see up here, that spine is bent almost 90%. Now, this is not just a cosmetic problem. Yes, children in the schoolyard are not kind to people who have spines that look like this, but this is a medically serious condition. When your spine stretches like that, it stretches your spinal cord. This particular patient was paralyzed from the chest down, in a wheelchair, no control of bladder or bowel function, and eventually died from compression, ruptured aneurysm. It stresses the arteries in your chest and compresses your heart. Your heart can't function, your lung can't function. And these people have to have surgery to prevent severe disability and eventual death. This is an example of the total progression, and this is a patient that's progressed over about 5 to 10 years, and it starts out with a little gradual bending, a little further, and then it gets up to this point eventually. You need to be doing surgeries about in this area, in the middle, because by the time it gets there, it's very difficult to repair these. And the way that you do it is you basically cut down through all the muscles in your back, all the way down to the spinal cord, put a couple of rods on either side of these bones, put screws through the rods into the bones, ratchet them together as hard as you can. Usually can't correct it all the way, but you can ratchet it quite a bit. And this puts a lot of stress on the back, gives people arthritis forever. Then you cut out pieces of bone from the hip, you put it in along the rods and put bone grafts in there. So that eventually, a couple of years later, you can take out the rods and the bones have grown and fused the spine basically so that there's very little bending, and it can hold the spine in place without the foreign body, the rods that won't last forever. Unfortunately, while that usually helps, many times after you remove the rods, the spine will start to curve again. Then you have to put in smaller ones, usually only 1 or 2 places because the fusion lasts pretty long in a lot of different places, but there'll be one or two areas that'll start to bend again, so you go in and put in these little smaller rods and screws like this. Now this is an example of a fairly large fusion of thoracic and lumbar spine, and they got a pretty good result, and after a couple of years they'll take those out and the spine will be pretty straight, but that patient will not be able to do very much, and we'll talk about that a little bit later on. Jeanette had a lot more than this. These are before and after the rods. This was a pretty severe case. You do much more than this and you'll probably end up causing spinal cord injury if you try to straighten anything much more than that. But they got it down to about 50 degrees of curvature, and after a couple of years those rods can come out, the bone grafts will take, and you'll have a pretty decent result. But what doctors consider a decent result would be quite different for a pool player. Here's the first picture of Jeanette Lee that we'll show tonight. And this is after her rods were removed and she had more bending and had to go back in and do another one and fix 2 areas in her neck there. I have patients that have this with one surgery, they're disabled. And I'll tell you about Jeanette's surgeries that led up to this one, and I think hopefully somebody will be amazed besides myself. Okay, here's another picture of her that after these fusions failed, they start to bend here. She has to have more pins and rods in there. And this is what it looks like from the outside. This is what the kids in the schoolyard see, and this is the reason many mothers want their children to have the surgeries, is because the posture is way different, and they can improve it quite a bit like that. While these surgeries can prevent death and paralysis, they are very major undertakings, and they usually result in chronic pain and disability. They do not usually result in a championship level of pool. Jeanette's condition was quite severe, and over the past 30 years has required not 1, not 2, not 3, but 8 major surgeries. Surgeries to put the rods in the cervical spine, then the thoracic spine, then the lumbar spine basically had rods all the way from her scalp all the way to her tailbone with bone grafting, and then you take those out in 3 major surgeries. And then when they start to fail, you have to have 2 more surgeries, one in the neck and one in the lumbar spine, to put in more plates to keep them from going further. Hers is a very typical case of a severe scoliosis patient, and it's left her with nerve damage, partial paralysis, and chronic pain that is always moderate and often severe. Now, I've been in medicine for 30 years, and I've personally never had a patient that has had 2 back surgeries and that was not disabled, on disability. I know such patients exist, I just have not met one. In addition, her surgeries were much more detailed and involved than the typical back surgeries that result in disability for the chronic back pain patients. I subscribed to Sports Illustrated magazine for over 40 years, and hardly a week would go by without some inspirational story of an athlete overcoming injury. Knee surgeries, shoulder surgeries, elbow surgeries, gunshot wounds, cancer, even an occasional back surgery or 2. But in all of those years, I've never read of anyone overcoming anything even remotely as severe as the series of surgeries that she's had. The vast majority of these athletes, after a few months or even a year or 2, they have no pain or little pain. They have no disability or little disability. Adrian Peterson runs for 2,000 yards after reconstructive surgery, and he's a hero. But these things are always considered heroic by the press and the fans. But the fact is, those athletes have faced nothing even nearly as challenging as Jeanette Lee. It is truly unbelievable to me that someone could become a pro player, much less perform at a championship level with this type of physical problem. And I would never have believed it if I hadn't seen it with my own eyes. This is not what you see on ESPN. This is not what you see in the glitzy video that we show you ahead of time, and this is not what you read in the magazines. But it should be the reason for her fame. It's one of the most remarkable achievements, the most remarkable athletes, and the most remarkable women in all of sport, not just pocket billiards. The reason that I even bring this up tonight is that the people gathered in this room are the majority of people on earth who understand exactly what it takes to become a champion player. You are the only ones that truly understand what it takes to make a living in this sport. You are the only ones that truly know what it takes to build and maintain a championship level of play. To paraphrase football coach Vince Lombardi, persistent pain makes cowards of us all. Almost no athlete ever develops proficiency or maintains it in the face of chronic and severe pain. It doesn't happen. Almost no one except Jeanette Lee in my experience. I think it is quite obvious to the people in this room how difficult it is for a woman to achieve such success. Jeanette has faced this incredible obstacle since her teens. You all know the amount of work, dedication and sacrifice it takes to become great at this tremendously difficult game. So I'd just like you to try to imagine trying to develop and maintain your skill when even the simple act of bending over causes severe pain, severe enough to often bring involuntary screams or tears to your eyes. Imagine that you have morning stiffness so severe that you can't stand up straight for an hour or two after you wake, every morning. Imagine you have nerve damage and partial paralysis in one of your legs so that you can't stand or balance on one leg without shaking and falling over. Imagine not being able to twist or bend your fused spine to reach those shots along the rail, or a chronic dull pain throughout your back and neck that gets much worse if you bend at all. Every time you bend to shoot a ball, every time you rack the balls, every time you inspect the rack of balls. Not that that ever happens. Imagine stretching for a shot, then not being able to get up without someone physically lifting you off the table. Imagine not being able to practice or play for weeks or months at a time, or practicing 5 minutes and then having to quit unexpectedly with agonizing pain. Imagine having to occasionally be carried out of your car by friends when your back seizes up. Imagine having such pain that you must sit down on the floor at the local store when you're shopping and call someone to come and carry you home. Imagine not being able to lift your baby when she cries. Imagine all of this, and then in your imagination, ask yourself honestly if you could have become a pro player in the face of such pain, in the face of such disability, or if you could even maintain your current level of play if it happened to you now. Jeanette has been facing these handicaps every single day since before she started playing pool. Whenever I see her play, I ask myself the same question, and I always conclude that the long hours of practice and play, the extensive traveling would be far too much for me. I suspect too much for just about anyone, except someone who loved the game intensely and was as fiercely determined as Jeanette Lee. The question of why she has persevered to develop this level of skill, despite the pain and disability, has always intrigued me. I truly believe it is because she loves the game, loves it so very much that all the pain and all the suffering are worth it. She appreciates and loves the grace, intricacy, and elegance of the game itself. In an age when I hear many pro players profess that they don't want their children to ever play pool, I hear Jeanette say that she intensely desires for her children to appreciate and play the sport she loves. And she is willing to pay the price to make the sport worthy and respectable. I believe that her love of the game is so intense that she will drive herself as long as she can to make it better. When she was recently asked what else could there possibly be to accomplish now that she was admitted to the Hall of Fame, Jeanette quickly replied that there's still a tremendous amount of work to do to make the sport as great and popular as it deserves. Growing the sport is her life's work, it's her calling, and the pain and the sacrifice do not deter her at all. It's really not just on the table that she's persevered. Despite the physical limitations, she's also built an image and a business that is worthy of our respect. The time she must spend on traveling, appearances, exhibitions, and business is truly daunting. Yet she finds time for her friends, for her family, and for charitable ventures. I've been in a unique position over the past 10 years to observe the time and effort she expends on others, and I've also participated over 30 years in a large number of charitable pursuits. But I can honestly say I know no one who does anywhere near as much for others as Jeanette does, and no one who is more generous in giving. This is the other private side of Jeanette that few have seen and that she does not usually share, but I'm going to anyway. She's mentored countless young players, helping with playing tips, resumes, websites, promotional ideas. She's financially supported numerous family members to an extent that is truly unbelievable. So please, no one tell George. I do not think he wants to know. Mortgage payments, cars, tuition, living expenses, travel expenses, funeral expenses, weddings, moving expenses, computers, and just truly thoughtful gifts. She gives these with no expectation of repayment or reward, and she is the most generous person that I've ever met. She supports and participates in charities too numerous to count, donating time, money, and energy. She promotes this sport tirelessly at great personal expense, drawing fans and sponsors to the game and supporting the junior players who are the future of the sport. She's done an amazing amount for the sport and yet feels sad that she couldn't have done more. It's not just the money she shares selflessly. Few people know that she will donate her time to go to the local nursing home and manicure the nails of the elderly women there. I know few people who understand the reward of this type of selfless act, but Jeanette is one of them. She's adopted 2 children, basically adopted 2 stepchildren, and had 2 biological children as well. She loves them all as deeply and cares for them as much as anyone I've ever met. I'm violating all confidences to tell you these things tonight, but Jeanette is never going to do it, and I could never live with myself if I did not share her real story with the people most qualified to appreciate it. Though her fame is based on her performance, achievements, professionalism, personality, image, and beauty, it is really the things that the fans do not know at all that make her totally unique. Her beauty to me is on the inside. Her persistence in the face of debilitating pain and her dedication to helping friends, strangers, and family are the things that make her very, very special. She does more to help others and more to be a good friend than anyone I have personally ever met. Far, far more than anyone I have ever met. Despite the sheer volume of her good works, one very special evening, I saw tears in her eyes as she lamented her inability to do even more for her friends. That was the moment I knew she was the most exceptional person I've ever met, and I admire her more than any other athlete. I'm not saying she's perfect, but the magnificence of her achievement and her heart have earned her a free pass for life from me at least. I apologize to Jeanette and her family if I've overstepped my bounds, but I'm glad that I finally had the chance to tell this story. In the 30 years I've been in medicine and the 40 years that I've been following sports closely, I can tell you there's no story, no patient, and no athlete even remotely as heroic as this one. Not even close. And I hope someday she'll get the kind of respect she so richly deserves. It has been one of the great disappointments of my life that I've not been able to be as good a friend to Jeanette as she has been to me, and that I've not been allowed to tell this story before now. But I can assure you that there's never been an athlete I admired more, a friend I admired more, or a person more worthy of respect than Jeanette. And I'm privileged to be the first one to congratulate her tonight. I hope you will join me and the very special people in this slide in welcoming a Hall of Fame mother, a Hall of Fame friend, and the newest member of the WPBA Hall of Fame, Jeanette Lee.
Wow. Could I have Belinda Calhoun and Sherry Stout up here as well? No? Yeah, I think so. Because we are privileged to have some other Hall of Famers with us tonight, and I would like them to share. I would like them to share in welcoming our newest member, Jeanette. It's an honor and a privilege to present you with the 2012 WPBA Hall of Fame. Welcome to the club. Wait for it. And being in the Hall of Fame, we have a little inside joke. It's sort of like getting ball in hand.
I might put this down.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
And put it on a high shelf so that people don't come along and go, oh, fun. Right.
Yeah, and yeah, you don't want it to be where anybody can actually touch it. Because I know this from experience because I had mine in my office, and who came in one day but Jimmy Mattia. And he says, wow, check this out. Right on the floor. I think I broke his toe. I think it was pretty funny, actually.
Thank you. I see.
It's your turn.
It's all yours.
Well, Don, I knew you could speak, but boy, I wasn't expecting to get into all the,
You said I could.
Right, but yeah. Well, thank you. That was really, really special. Originally, I was just going to say thank you, but the more I thought about it, the more I thought this was the perfect opportunity to thank some of the people that have really helped me get here. And I was just going to try to say it verbally, but the list just kept growing. I didn't realize my career had been as long as it's been, and there's been so many people within. So I hope you don't mind. I'm going to read. I know that I should just say it, but I can't. And especially right now, I definitely, my head's a mess. So I'm honored to stand before you today as the recipient of this illustrious award to be recognized by my peers is the greatest compliment that I think any of us can have. It's been a long road for all of us, and I just want to express my appreciation, not just for this award, but for all the hard work of everyone in this room and the ones before you who have given me the platform, put me in the position to receive this today. We're only as good as those around us, and I really feel lucky to be surrounded by some of the most talented people in our industry. Thank you to the WPBA for sure for this incredible journey. I'm hoping that it's not over, and there's many more to come, but I've met some really incredible people. I've made a lot of friends, and I'm just very humbled and grateful right now. I definitely want to first thank my husband, George, for his most difficult accomplishment, which is putting up with me all these years. Not a lot of people would understand our marriage. We're quite different, but no one understands me the way that you do. So thank you for always giving me the support and letting me shine when the time is there to, but also reminding me to park the Black Widow at the door when I come home, which is often necessary. To God, I want to praise you and thank you. I know I fall way, way short of what you had in mind as one of your children, but thank you for loving me anyway and having the patience to help me grow every day to be a better person. I think when I first started this tour, I met a few Christians on the tour, and I was very critical of them because I was like, you know, she's like that and she calls herself a Christian, and it's just very easy to do that. But I think the more I grow up in my life and also as a Christian, I realized that being a Christian doesn't make you perfect. It's just something you believe in, and you have to continue to try every day to be a better person, and I still strive to be that. So thank God, literally, that he's patient. Mom, I know you couldn't be here, but I've certainly learned what it means to become a mom. It's not easy, and yet you proudly do it every day, even now. You've never put limits on my dreams, and you've always made sure to tell me that you love me, like I do with my children every day. You are the woman who has pushed me and guided me to be the best that I can be, and I love you. And my darling children, thank you for brightening every day with your smiles. Thank you for your patience with Mommy's busy, busy schedule, letting me practice pool even if it's with you wrapped around my legs. Thank you for keeping me grounded with your messy faces and your lost homework and chauffeuring you around and skin knees and all your little kisses and snuggles at night. Thank you to Gene Nagy for teaching me to play for the love of the game, to enjoy the journey, not just the wins. I wish you were here. I love you and I miss you. He passed away a few years ago, but it's too long a journey if you can't enjoy every moment. And I think as competitors, it could very easily get all about the wins, but I really encourage all of you and remind myself to enjoy these moments, every moment. It's a beautiful, beautiful game. Thank you to Amsterdam Billiard Club for giving me so much support over the years, from an amateur to a world champion. You've been there for me. Thank you to Gabe Vigorito of Howard Beach Billiard Club for giving me the nickname the Black Widow. I hated it. I was so teased, and I really actually didn't hate it at the beginning because it was just right there. But when it grew, I started to really freak out. You know, because you're young and I already look brutal at the table and you want to be like, and you got that nickname and, you know, it's brutal. I had no idea it would become something that I would grow to love, and I'm comfortable in that skin now. My sponsors, Imperial International, for all those years, they were with me for a very, very long time, and I really want to thank them for the support and all the sponsors that followed from there. Thank you to APA, who's one of my current sponsors, for seeing me through surgeries, through babies, the APA Black Widow Tour, and teaching me so much about marketing, caring, and really caring about the future of our sport. Thank you to Johnny Morris of Bass Pro Shops for sharing my love of pool, seeing the best in me, giving me the opportunity to become your friend while learning from one of the greatest, wisest, most giving men I know. Thank you for your continued sponsorship, and I look forward to a long-lasting relationship. I learned a lot, so much from my coaches. When I first started, I never even considered the value of a coach. But I'm grateful to them all, and I can't say enough about how much I've learned, but I definitely want to thank Jerry Bryces for teaching me about the importance of good fundamentals and the perfect swing, which, as much as I strive for, I'm not sure that I ever really saw it until Allison Fisher and, you know, some of our really great champions. It's just annoying. Good. Because I'm just like, and she's like, just dead on. Really annoying. But anyway, thank you to Jerry Bryces for that. His proteges, Mark Wilson, Bob Carmen. Mark Wilson is my constant reminder of winning attitude and how important that is. Bob Carmen for teaching me about how simplifying my life will make me a better champion and a happier person. I am a slow learner, though, so that's still a work in progress. Tony Robles, you have always and continue to teach me what it means to be proud to be an ambassador of our sport. We played in the same pool room, and when I first started, and I got to watch him, and just his whole behavior really was, there can be some kind of seedy people in the pool room, and he just, shined brightly about what I wanted to be, not what I was surrounded by. And thank you for that. Almost done. Diana is my assistant at home. She's a very, very good friend of mine, and I call her my glue that holds everything together. Thanks for always going the extra mile and for your thoughtfulness and caring. So I'll thank you this one day for putting up with me the other 364 days a year. Tom George, my agent, some of you have met him for the last 15 years at Octagon, for always having my best interests at heart in a very tough business, for being a mentor and friend and teaching me so much about sports marketing. I really don't know what I would have done without you all these years. My current managers, Teddy Block and Mike Shearer's at Octagon now, and they've done a lot for me, and they're very close to me and guide me in the same way. Helena, for being my best friend on the tour for many, many years. I'm so grateful for having had you in my life throughout my career. We've had some really great times, but you've also always let me cry on your shoulder, and you cook Swedish food for me whenever there weren't any words left. I know we all get distant a little when there's big, changes in our life and when we're living so far apart, but you have never let us get very far because you know what's important, and you just taught me so much. So I love you. Thanks for not giving up on us when we live so far apart. Mark and Marlene, right here, thank you for knowing who I am and reminding me when I forget. Thank you for genuinely caring about the outcome of my life. Thanks for giving me such loving support through all these surgeries and miscarriages and babies and all the ups and downs of my career, and most of all, being someone that I can trust in a world that I've often felt misunderstood. I want to thank my fans and my friends out there, here and everywhere, that have given me so much encouragement. All 14 of you have been amazing. I hope that we can share many, many more years together. And lastly, Don, for taking the time to make this the most special evening ever. Thank you for your caring, your kindness, your thoughtfulness, your generosity, and more importantly, for being one of the very, very few people that might actually love straight pull as much as I do. Thank you for always being there when I needed you, and all those positive affirmations and believing me, even when sometimes I was too exhausted to believe in myself. I cherish our very special friendship, and I hope I can express how grateful I am for all that you've been to me and my family. And that's all I could come up with. But I think the last thing that I really want to share, it really does hurt me when people say, are you kidding me? When they say, are your kids going to play pool? And I hear people say, are you kidding me? I'm not going to let my kid ever touch a pool cue. And it just breaks my heart because this is the most beautiful game. And we're in a special place that we get to do it. And we never started it for the money. And there's, you look at the Olympics, those people, that's not their jobs. They're doctors. They have all different kinds of jobs. The sport they play is because they love it. And I hope my children always know how beautiful this game is, and I hope they share it, and I encourage them to be the best that they can be and do whatever they want to do, but I sure hope that they can share this love with me. And I'm just really, I hear about the BCA Hall of Fame, and maybe someday I'll get in there, but this is so special to me that it's amongst my peers that have traveled this road with me. So thank you very much for being here, and thanks for this recognition. I really appreciate it.
Wanted to get a picture. Yeah, a picture.
She's chasing after the red dog like a little puppy dog. You did a great job sitting still. Let me duck for this short. Yeah, I know.
Yeah, he's really excited. Get it done? I was trying to get.
Jeanette, we need you for a hall.
You could easily use that for an excuse to make doctors give you disability.